Well, hello loves, and happy Sunday to you. Today we are finishing up our concertina journal, and it has been a wonderful adventure all week long. You have one more day to get your winter stencils at 15% off. The coupon code is WinterFun23, and that will be down below in the YouTube description box, as well as all the links to all the videos and the supplies. So I'm on my last section here, and I'm sketching out my angel, and I'm being very nondescript, nothing fancy, not much detail or anything, just basic shapes. And I just want to kind of block out her face. I'm using unbleached titanium, which is the color of the background. And I've sketched it out with my General's charcoal pencil. And I'm coming back in with some white, and as soon as I do the white, I realize, no, that's not what I want to do. You can see my paws, and so I wipe it all back, because what I want is, I love that pattern underneath, and I want that to be really visible. So in order to do that, I need to kind of obstruct the background so that the dress itself is more visible. And I started with white, and I thought, well, that's not going to work because that's not enough contrast. And contrast is key when you want something to stand out. So I mix up a little bit of Payne's Gray and gesso and begin to put that in the background and kind of obscure several areas, because I know that I'm going to be putting more than just one angel on my page. It's the host of angels, the angels we have heard on high. And so I knew there were going to be more. And so I'll use that Payne's Gray and gesso mixture to just kind of not completely block out the background, but obscure it enough that the dress or the body and her face will stand out a little bit more. And as I began to put that down, I realized that it didn't feel like enough contrast. It was okay, but I needed to find more contrast. So I'm making sure to have some white around the edges. It's always a process to get to where you want to go, and you just have to keep trying things to see what's the best option. So for now, that's where I'm going to let it be, and I'm going to put my angel wings down. I'm using gesso. This is the large angel wings stencil. And I wanted her wings to be different than the other angels because she's front and center and the star of the show. And I took a lot of time stenciling this, and I realized that I stenciled more on the other side, and so this side wasn't quite as bright, and I love the bright white because, again, contrast, it makes it stand out, pulls it away from the background, and so I stenciled back over it. Yes, that's so beautiful. There were a couple areas in this wing that didn't quite get stenciled out, so I wanted to make sure those were in. And now I'm trying to lay out, okay, where is are my angels going to go? And so I'm looking at how I would have some wings or where I might have them, and then placing a mark so that I can know that a wing can go there, and then I can draw the body next to it. It just gives me an idea of placement. And I wanted to put the third angel, which you see very little of, but I wasn't sure where to put it, and I wanted to make sure it was kind of off center a little bit so that it wasn't directly above the angel and adding a little bit of interest and balance. And typically I would have done 5, but I just felt like it would have been too much, and 3 was too little, so I went with my gut. So you can see I've got my marks there, and right where my mark is, I just kind of sketch out my angel body. Trying to not let the background determine where I put my angels. And knowing that I can block out anything if I need to, if it gets in the way, but I feel like it adds so much interest when you get to see our beautiful background peek through. So I'm going to stencil out all my angel wings now using the new 5x8 angel wings. It's a great size for smaller projects or smaller angels. And my whole concertina has been about reflecting about the things that I'm going to be, or I am grateful for in this season, in this winter season. And I hope that you can do that too. Take some time to journal it out or paint it out, whatever it is that might work for you. But I love creating in my concertina because it's just one long story of the season. I've got some watered down gesso, and I'm just creating the body of my angels. Real flowy, keeping the bottom edges loose and not straight, but just angled or random brush strokes, but letting that water kind of flow so that it pools at the end. Adding a little bit more white up towards the top just to kind of add some contrast between the head and the neck and the body. And I don't want to add too much to the body of my main angel. I want the dress to be the pattern, or dress, her body to be the pattern of the background. It's a little muted down, but I do want to give it some shape, and that's why I'm using my gesso for that. And I still feel like at this point that the background's still too light. It's not really making my beautiful angel stand out. So now I bring out that permanent violet dark, I think that's the color, and put that, I decided to just kind of test it to see if it would work. And I knew as soon as I got this color down that this is what I wanted. And you'll see right away how it just brings it alive. You see her so much more than the kind of grayish background. It's perfect. And this is just watered down. Again, you can still see the background, and yet that contrast is what really sets her apart. I'm using a 1/2-inch angle brush, and an angle brush is a great way to get fine details, fine lines, points. You can, use it flat and get a wide swath of paint, or you can use the edge and get a nice point. I'm just gradually working my way around each angel, making sure that the contrast is highest closest to my main angel. That means the intensity of the color is greatest towards my main angel. I'm going to continue my road all the way into our final section, continuing and completing the story. This is olive green, just watered down. And then a bit of gesso right into that wet paint. Get some real soft, kind of smushy feel for snow. Now I want to kind of bring in the detail, and this will further separate our angels from the background. Adding tiny bits of shadow and shading, I'm using my soft pastel pencil in kind of a raw umber color because it's softer than my charcoal pencil. I don't want the shading to overtake my angels and be really, really dark. I want it to just enhance it and add a little bit of depth and further separate it from the background. I'm bringing in a little bit of white soft pastel pencil to just kind of block out the faces just a tiny bit. And again, that white soft pastel pencil will help you see each of the angels a little bit more, their faces, their shapes. I'm using my brown soft pastel pencil to create a line around her head. I'm using my Krylon Gold Leaf pen, which is just about out, and creating her halo. And I'm doing this real imperfectly and scratchy because this is a gold leaf pen and it really has that kind of scratchy gold leaf feel, and I love it. Like, you can see me shaking it because I'm just about out. And I'm not going completely right up to her head. I'm allowing some of that purple to show through, which gives it this kind of glow, I think anyway. Using my broad tip white Posca marker for embellishments around her halo. A little pink for her cheeks. And just a tiny bit on her dress. Sometimes I need just a little bit stronger white, so I will use my just regular soft pastel stick. Got my fan brush out here and some watered down gesso, and I'm going to do some sprinkles. I'm going to bring that sprinkles from the one other section next to it over to kind of, bridge the two. I'm going to shade my edges. I originally was going to try and do some raw umber around the edges, but I didn't like how it looked. I didn't like how it dulled everything down. So I'm just using my black soft pastel stick, like I always do. This is just a me thing. Doesn't have to be a you thing. But I like how it frames everything in. Going over the entire thing, top and bottom, and just smoothing it out. Putting our finishing touches onto our concertina. I did have a couple of edges that were coming up or torn just from me using it over the last week, that I'll just stick back down with a little bit of matte gel. I had to kind of think through all of the parts of my piece, and I knew I was reflecting, and I knew that each section was giving me something that I was thankful for. And so I sat down and wrote each out as to what each section meant to me. And these are the words that I came up with that felt right for the project, for my concertina, for this season. A time to reflect. Winter's always a time for me to reflect. I'm using my matte gel to put my words down. I just printed them up on the computer. And then a time to reflect about what I'm grateful for, friends and family, and the joy that we have when we're together. Putting a little soft pastel on my finger because I'd kind of cleaned off the other leftover. And I like to just use the soft pastel that's usually on my hands already and just kind of soften the words down. And the Silent Night, Holy Night has a lot of different meanings for me, but when it snows, it's silent. Everything gets so quiet, and it's so beautiful, and it causes you to pause for a second and take it all in. And part of that just feels so divine to me. Nature itself is divine to me. And then, of course, my angels. Faith is a big part of my gratitude, most of the part of my gratitude. And so that I was reflecting on this week as I created. And I'm sorry that this is kind of out of the camera frame. It's hard with as big as my concertina is to keep it all within the camera frame. And if you're into what you're doing and I forget to look at the monitor, sometimes I don't see that I'm not quite there. But I'm putting a little bit of violet soft pastel over these words just to blend them into the background so they're there but not really there. And then coming back and just highlighting just a little bit of maybe white or black charcoal, just to give them some depth. And you don't have to do that if you want them to blend more into the background. This has just always kind of been one of the things that I do. It's always so fun to put the finishing touches, to see all the things that we've done and the journey that we've taken. It just feels so good. And that quiet time to, again, reflect on so many things. So there we are, our concertina. Finished and chunky, yummy good. All the layers. Just kind of refolding it a little bit, but there we are. So beautiful. So there's my front flap, and I have a back flap, and I'm going to do both the front flap and the back flap exactly the same. I'm using some of that permanent violet dark. And just kind of with real watery, brushing it out. Nothing perfect. And I'll do the back exactly the same. Just kind of tap this out and give it this kind of rough texture. Not much of this is going to show, but it's there. Just rough texture, kind of evening out all of the brush strokes and everything. See how pretty that looks? I've got my new eucalyptus, rambling eucalyptus. So this is the 9x12. Just rolling it out like we did with our background. We're going to finish the cover of our concertina within the subscriber library and the membership, so you can find the cover there. I hope you enjoyed this series, and I hope that it has inspired you to create your own concertina. Don't forget to take a look at all the winter stencils that are on sale for one more day. All right, my loves, have a wonderful Sunday, and always, always know that you are loved.